Thank you for everybody joining us today on our Mingle Mastermind. I'm super excited about this one because our guest today is Don Gallagher, who has all this experience with Home Shopping Channel and QVC, which I know everybody wants to know how that works. So we're so grateful to have you on. And what you're really an expert at is direct to consumer, which is something so important right now. So we're thrilled to have you share your knowledge with us. I'll go ahead and we'll walk through and say hello to the panel before we get started. Dell, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Melissa. As always, Fashion Mingle is so exciting and you learn so much, and the group is just very supportive. So feel free to ask questions, everyone, and interact with us. I'm based in New York City with True Model Management and coming to you from California today, but I'll be back and looking forward to meeting all of you soon.
Well, we're looking forward to having you back in New York after your lovely summer vacation. So nice. Hi, Shirin, how are you doing?
Hi, Melissa. Hi, ladies. Thanks for having me again today. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so happy to have Dawn on today, and can't wait to hear all about what is on everyone's mind, especially my clients. So I know we're going to be totally enriched today, and happy to join in on the conversation as well. And I want to also say thank you to Melissa, who has been instrumental in helping me with my website, and that we're going to be launching on Monday. So hopefully everything goes great. And if anyone has any questions on doing a website, Melissa's your girl. So thank you again, Melissa.
I'm very nerdy. Yes, you can ask me any nerdy website question and I will have you.
Got the glasses to prove.
Okay, and Kat, how are you doing, sweetheart?
Hi. Yeah, I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'm in Rhode Island, so I'm taking 4 or 5 days up here and just antiquing and just enjoying myself and preparing for the fall, because we don't know what's going to happen, but we're all supporting each other down the road, and it just feels like the shift is real. We've kind of like realized that this is happening, and we've got to figure it out. And these kind of mastermind courses have been so instrumental to keeping me buoyed up and searching and very, very enlightened. You know, this is the time where we cannot get despondent. We have to don't get down, get diva.
Right. Well, I'm super jealous that you're antiquing. That sounds like what we used to do in real life. I'm like, oh.
I know.
I'm so jealous. So
I'm a dealer too, so I'm getting good deals.
Oh, awesome. I bet everybody's ready to sell.
Yeah, he's a good picker.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you'll have to share some pictures of your best finds on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll take you with me in my pocket, my back pocket.
Absolutely. So Dee, you're having camera issues.
Yes, but I could definitely speak. Anyway, so great to have thank you for having me, by the way. A pleasure to meet you, Dawn, virtually. I know you can't see me. My camera is having issues. I kept trying to log in, but anyway. And Kat, I'm very jealous because that's like my favorite thing to do. So I have to go on one of those tours with you. But
I know to be here. We need a girls trip. We need a
let's do a girls trip antiquing. Yeah.
Oh, good idea.
Like my favorite thing on the planet.
Yes.
Yeah. Retreat. Let's do a retreat. Yes.
Yes, that would be. I love that. Let's do it. That sounds great.
Okay, sounds good. After Fashion Week.
Yes.
Please. Yes.
Okay.
Well, we're excited to have one of my favorite Fashion Mingle members on, Andrea DiFiore, and thank you so much for joining us. Andrea has a beautiful line of silk scarves. Andrea, you want to say hi and tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes, thank you for having me, Melissa. And I have to say that Fashion Mingle has been a godsend to me because I am 25 years in a dark room as a high-end photo retoucher, and just sort of came out into the light and decided that I was going to be silk scarf designer, and I'm getting so much information from you. So that's my story. I've been, this is my second career. I'm in my 50s, and I'm having my artwork turned into wearable pieces of art.
Very cool. So I wanted to have you on because I thought Dawn would be a great connection for you as you're trying to grow your brand. So many of our Fashion Mingle members are, you know, they're like you. They've got a couple of careers going on. That's very common in the fashion industry, to have a lot of side gigs, and to, like, you may have like this business, or you may have a career that's paying the bills, but you're a creative artist at heart, and you want to you know, turn that into a business opportunity. So this is a great a great person to be able to pick her brain. So let me officially introduce Dawn Gallagher. So Dawn has an amazing background and career. She was an 80s supermodel, which I have to say, the first time I saw Dawn, I was like, she looks really familiar. And so then I was like, okay. So she's been on the cover of Vogue, Bazaar, Cosmopolitan. She's done ads for Maybelline, Ralph Lauren, Clairol. So you probably have seen her everywhere. And she's still modeling. I think that you work with Dale's modeling agency, True Model Management, or you guys know each other through modeling?
Yeah, we've known each other many, many years through modeling. And yes, I do some things with Dale, which is very
Awesome.
honored.
Very, very cool. Well, so you are a beauty influencer, and you actually have a YouTube channel that has over 3 million views. So obviously very, very popular. So, but your actual career has been more on the retail side, working with QVC, and also really working as a strategist for direct-to-consumer sales. So let's start at the beginning. Give us a little background on how you started your career in modeling, and how that segued into what you do today.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you, Melissa, so much for having me here. Dale, thank you for introducing me to Melissa and Fashion Mingle. It's a real honor. Kat, I want to say, I'm so excited what you said about this is the time to be positive and excited. And there's so many wonderful, exciting things going on for entrepreneurs, especially. And yeah, just thank you so much. And Andrea, when I heard you started your career in your 50s, I'm like, yes, because so many women are starting their careers in their 40s and 50s. So that was really exciting for me to hear. I started my YouTube channel in my 50s.
Wow.
So, you know, so there's always hope. And everyone told me, no, YouTube is for tweens and for, you know, frat boys, but I proved it wrong. And there's so many women on YouTube. So if anybody is interested in YouTube and wants to ask me questions about that as well, I'm here for you. So my career, I came to New York in the 80s, 1982. I started as a model, like you said, and that really, and I traveled around the world, and I really cut my teeth into what it was like in the beauty industry and the fashion industry. And I learned so much from being a model. I would have to say that I used the industry instead of it using me. I took every ounce that I can get out of it and learned from it, saved my money, you know, bought real estate. I really wanted to use my platform for good. I didn't want, you know, because that industry could eat you up. But I said, I'm going to take my platform and use it for good, the exposure I'm getting. So that's how I started. I started as a model. That segued into doing lots of television work. So I was doing commercials and hosting TV shows. And then that segued into me writing 2 books. I've written 2 New York Times bestselling books on beauty and health and indigenous cultures around the world and what they use for beauty treatments. That segued me into QVC because they recognized me as a beauty expert. And so I've been working for QVC for the last 10 years as a on-air host and as a vendor rep. So I wear both hats. So I have a lot of information on how to get into QVC, the pitfalls, things to avoid, things that are extremely beneficial about QVC. And I also know direct to consumer. I have a lot of information around that platform, because for me, the direct to consumer is where everyone's going right now. Retail is changing, as you know, with the coronavirus. A lot of department stores are shutting down. Lots of people are being furloughed. We don't know what's going to happen in the retail space. A lot of people aren't going to stores and are shopping online. So you really want to start looking into direct to consumer, getting your website together. Maybe you want to work with influencers, placing ads on Facebook, placing ads on Instagram. So we can talk a lot about that. I could talk forever, Melissa, so I could just go on and on and on, but I don't know, I want to have other panelists and, if they have any questions or if you have questions.
Yeah, I mean, let's first talk about QVC, because I think that's the thing that people are always fascinated about. So tell us a little bit about at what point do you have to be in order to, when is it time to pitch yourself to QVC, and what should you have in place as a business so that you have the best chance of getting chosen to be on QVC?
Okay, well, QVC and HSN are now merged. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they merged. So QVC and HSN, they're very different. One is in Tampa, one is in Philadelphia. They've merged now, and so they work together. So you can basically pitch both, and it's not as competitive as it was before. I would say to get on QVC, you can be a new brand. They're always looking for new and innovative brands. There's a lot of people think that you have to be well established as a brand in all these department stores in order to get into QVC. That's actually not true. They do actually look for new, innovative brands. With that said, it's still not easy to get into QVC. It's not like you can pick up a phone and call the buyer and get into QVC. There are some steps. I would suggest anybody that is trying to get into QVC to work with a vendor representative. That is probably the easiest way. If you try to go in the back end, and you can go on QVC's website and you can fill out all the forms and you can do the submission, but it really is more beneficial for you. You pay a rep around 10%. That's usually what they get, but it's worth it because they will get you in the door, especially if they have a really good relationship with the buyer. So if you are a beauty brand or a scarf brand like Andrea, you would work with the scarves, you would work with the fashion buyer. With anything with beauty, there are particular beauty buyers. So what you want to do is you find a brand rep. There's many, many brand reps, but you want to work with a brand rep that is in Philadelphia, that is close to the QVC lot, that is always on the QVC lot. Now remember guys, QVC has changed as well because of COVID. Okay, so there's been lots of changes going on because of COVID. They're being very strict about who's on the lot now, who is allowed into the studios. Right now, they are only having the guests that are the everyday hosts. They're not having guests on into the studio. The guests are only on Skype like this, whether it's Skype or Zoom. I think it's Skype. They're using the Skype platform, but they are not having the average person. So say if Andrea gets into QVC, gets a big PO, she would pitch and show her brand with the regular host through Skype. So, I mean, so I would say the best route is to go through a vendor representative. And you can find vendor just go online, you can Google. I can send a list of people that I really, Melissa, later I can send you an email list of people that I really truly believe are great vendor reps.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so that anybody that's listening or wants that information, I have that information. They're a lot easier to deal with than the QVC buyers. So if they have a good relationship with the QVC buyer, you'll get in the door, you'll get a meeting pretty quickly. However, you have to understand something about QVC. Even if they take a big purchase order and you're really psyched and you're really jazzed, if it does not sell, the items are returned back to you. So there's many new entrepreneurs, new businesses that prefer to wait to establish their brand with direct to consumer. They prefer to wait until they get some sales, maybe, you know, they're in a few doors, and then they approach QVC. Because, you know, if you're a new business and, you know, you get a huge purchase order, but it doesn't sell, that can really hurt your business. So,
Okay.
and your manufacturing, you know, it could cost a lot of money, and a lot of, I would say not a lot, but there have been many businesses that have been hurt by that. So you have to be really sort of ready to understand that.
Okay, wow. So like what's I know it's got to be different for every business, but is there like a base amount of inventory that you need to have in order to be on QVC?
Yeah, they really would like you to have all your ducks in a row, meaning you have your manufacturing set up, you have your inventory, so that if they place an order, your inventory is already ready to ship. Now your inventory is shipped to them. So
Okay.
you are not, when you're getting orders from QVC, you are not the one that is going to be shipping. You are going to ship to them, and they ship to their customers.
Okay. Okay. So then now I know during the QVC program, you know, they're taking all the calls and everything. Do orders continue after that time, or is it just during the program that you're selling?
No, you get orders. It's evergreen, because if they're going to have you on television, they're also going to have you on their website. So when you're on your website, you're constantly getting orders. People make their fortunes off QVC, and they typically will then take, if it's a success and you are selling well, they will then go, you're a shoe-in for the department stores, because the department stores will see that, first of all, you've gotten the publicity. Millions of people watch QVC. And then once they see that you've gotten the publicity, that your brand has become sort of a household name, the department stores now will pick up your call, and you can get into the doors, and they'll be taking orders. But you know, you want to start with QVC because it gives you this tremendous amount of publicity. They're always on Instagram. QVC and HSN are always on YouTube. They are always promoting you. If you are on their website, they will always be promoting you. So the orders will be constant.
Okay. So is there a minimum like amount? Like I know we've got, just as an example, I'm going to call out Rose Hall, who's on one of the attendees today, and she has this amazing tea brand that is very unique. It's instant tea, it's organic, it's absolutely delicious, and it's unlike any other tea that you would normally get in the store. I
tried some. Tell her to send some to me.
Okay, you heard that, Rose. I'll put you guys in touch. And she would be an ideal person to, you know, an ideal product to sell on something like QVC. Like, how much volume should she have in inventory to be prepared for that kind of opportunity?
Right. So typically when you are a new brand without a household name, such as I'm assuming she's pretty new in her business, right? So what they would do, they would take a smaller purchase order, because they realize that you're a new brand, that you don't probably have a lot of inventory. So they'll typically take a smaller order, but then you have to be ready, because if it sells, then they're going to want another order pretty quickly, because their customers are now, again, if you're on the website, and their customers don't want to wait. So you know, that's why they say, you know, you have to have a decent size inventory, because if it sells out, the customers are going to want to buy more. And, you know, you don't want to say, oh, it's going to be 3 months before. So, you know, so they really like, it's how much inventory you need. It really depends on the brand. It depends on the buyer. It depends on the vendor rep, what kind of deal they're getting for you. The vendor rep also can get you on the best time slots, you know, where you're getting the most eyeballs. I know for me, I would go on Friday Night Beauty and there would be 8 million people watching. So that was a great time slot. So I would get on and the vendor rep had, you know, negotiated that you get on the, and they sold, I mean, you'd sell thousands. And so then the orders come back in, they send another purchase order, and they want you to, you know, be able to replenish it in a reasonable amount of time so that they can let their customers know.
Okay. So, if you talk to a vendor rep, will they give you that kind of advice based on your specific product?
Yes.
Okay.
So every product is different. Some products do really, really, really well. It depends on the price point. There's so many variables, so it's hard to give you specifics until, you know, I mean, you'd have to talk to a brand rep. They would have to talk to the buyer. They would have to negotiate. So there's a process.
Gotcha. So, and I loved how you mentioned, like, if you get on QVC, then that's going to really help you get in through department stores. And of course, you know, every designer, that's what they're dreaming of, is to get into a department store. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, what are like, give us a reality check on how hard it is to get into a department store. But then, like, how best to set yourself up for success with that?
So let's take Isaac Mizrahi, for example, because you're talking about designers now. So Isaac Mizrahi had his brand. I've done a couple of his fashion shows back in the day when he was a young designer. And then he pivoted into QVC. So, and which was, I mean, people could say, you know, was it a wise choice? Was that not a wise choice? He's made a fortune on QVC. And then what he did from QVC, he was able to do all these licensing deals. In fact, I know he has a licensing deal with luggage and, you know, travel and all that. I know his licensor, so I know he's making a fortune with that as well. I mean, there's so many opportunities with QVC. And then he also works with department stores. And so I think really what you're asking is, you know, how hard is it to get into department stores? You know, if you're trying to go directly to a department store, it's very difficult because, you know, they want to know you have a track record. What is your, you know, what's your sales? You have to show them, you know, your business plan and what you plan. And department stores are difficult. They want you to advertise for them. They also do chargebacks, and it's not an easy road, I would say, retail. I mean, there are a lot of people that are very successful in retail. I just have never gone that route directly. I've always kind of gone in the back way, you know, either through a direct to consumer situation or QVC, or there's many different ways. But so, yeah, so retail is not easy. And anybody in retail can tell you it's not easy to get in. You know, typically you have to know the buyer, somebody knows the buyer to get in. So yeah, I mean, I hope I'm answering your question about that. I always say if you're new, it's difficult. If you are an established brand, people know who you are, you've been out there, you've had fashion shows, you know, people have seen you on TV, and you know, you've got models wearing your designer clothes, then it's easier. But if they don't know who you are, it's going to be a process.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I really wanted, you know, to hear, is because I think that we have a lot of designers who get into the field thinking that, you know, I mean, everybody who starts a new business thinks you're going to be fabulously successful in no time at all because it's a brilliant idea, right? That's across the board, every entrepreneur on the planet. So, you know, so we definitely want, you know, through our mastermind program to give people like, just like the truth so that you're really prepared and you have the best chance for success, you know? And so that's why, you know, the direct to consumer is just gaining more and more in popularity, and you're like perfectly positioned to help people understand the steps they need to take. So let's get into that part. Like, what do you, so I assume you work with clients who use you as a consultant to help them get their direct to consumer strategy launched, right?
Yes.
So walk us through, when you're talking to a new client, what kind of questions are you asking them, and you know, what do they need to have prepared in order to start this kind of strategy?
Yeah, so typically you have to start with a website, right? So first you have to start with the product, then you have to have your website set up. I would suggest setting up an e-commerce website. You need to have some money because you do want to do some advertising, whether it's Facebook. A lot of people have made fantastic money with Facebook ads and Instagram ads and things like that. There are loans right now going on for entrepreneurs, which is really, really exciting. So we could talk about that later. But, you know, if you have some money to put into advertising, get your website up, make sure it looks really great, you know, invest some money into a great website. Make sure your e-commerce, you know, you got all your ducks in a row, that it's working seamlessly. And I would say, you know, just have that together. And then, you know, you might want to start working with influencers. You know, there are a lot of influencers that will do a barter deal. So I'll give you product. You, I have so many people reach out to me. Would you, you know, give a shout out on QVC, or would you give it, not QVC, I'm sorry, YouTube or Instagram? And I do that for them. If I like their product and they send it to me, sure, why not? I'm all about women helping women. So, and all, you know, I'm not negating men, but I really want to rise women. I want them to know that they can do anything, that there's strategies and opportunities. And it just gets me so excited when I talk to young entrepreneurs. And, you know, I just really want to give them hope. I have reinvented myself maybe 4 times. And like I said, I'm in my 50s, still reinventing myself with a new YouTube channel. You have to put yourself out there too. If you're a designer, if you are the brand. So do not be afraid to get yourself out there. Watch videos with Gary V. You know, T with Gary V. He talks about scaling. You know, get yourself out there. Get yourself on Instagram. Don't be afraid to show your face. Work with other influencers. If you're a fashion designer or a scarf designer, you know, get your product to some models and say, you know, hey, would you give me a shout out, or would you, you know, that is not something that's out of the ordinary. I know as a model, and Dale can probably speak to that too. She probably has a lot of models that have a lot of influence. So work with people and get yourself out there. That's really the first step that I would say. You know, there's SBA loans right now. Take advantage. It's, you know, I think it's 3%, 30 years at 3.7% or something like that. You know, get yourself out there. Use that money. You know, we all, like you were saying, Melissa, when you're an entrepreneur, we all think our idea, our product is fabulous. It's going to be the best thing. It's going to be prudent, be smart. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't start just throwing tons and tons of money, you know, just into, you know, I had a friend, I'll give you one example. She worked for Kenneth Cole for many, many years. And she loved Kenneth Cole's strategy. She was their marketing director. She did their PR and sales. She decided to go into business for herself. And she said, well, I'll just take the same strategies that Kenneth Cole did and I'll apply them. Well, but nobody knew who she was yet. So she spent all this money on advertising. I'm talking big money, like $100,000 on advertising. And, people didn't know who she was, and she spent all her money before she even got started. So the best advice I can give to an entrepreneur starting out is just slow and steady, just really, it's all about, look for freebies. As an entrepreneur, you want to look for barter deals and, again, how do I work with my platform? Use yourself and work with other people's platforms and just sort of collaborate together, cross-pollinate together. So that's what I tell when you're starting. And then once you've kind of you start establishing yourself. People see you on Instagram. They see you on Facebook. They see your little ads. Facebook ads do not have to be expensive. You just have to target the right people. You got to be laser focused on your target market. And when you do that, I have another brand called Go Pure. They have made their fortune just on direct to consumer Facebook ads. Facebook ads and direct to consumer. That's all they do. They don't want to do anything else. They don't want to go on, they just don't want to do anything. And they work with women over their sweet spot. They found a niche. Their sweet spot is women over 40. And they just, again, laser focused. They found their niche and they target those women. They say, take a selfie, we'll send you a product, take a selfie, put it on your Instagram account. We'll put it on ours. Very clever. The man who runs it and his wife, they're ingenious. I'm like, oh my God. So I talk a lot about that with my clients when I consult because there's so many ways to do this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I like you bringing up the Facebook ads. People feel really intimidated about the thought of running advertising, but the nice thing about Facebook and Instagram ads is it's just like you can go in with $20 and do a test.
Oh yeah.
So it's really like you want to be cautious that you don't start with a huge budget, but that you test messages and you really track what's working for you. You may run Facebook ads for the first month and not get a lot out of it, but you have to learn from it and you have to try different strategies until you hit on the right one.
Yeah, like you said, test the market. $25, $100, whatever, start testing. Will you have it, will it be hugely successful right away? You're absolutely right, Melissa. It takes time, it does. It takes a little bit of time figuring out what works, what doesn't work, what's the best strategy. Instagram. So for example, so I'm a YouTuber. I do a lot of YouTube and I work with a lot of brands through YouTube. I work with Mona and Gary Vee. They have given me so much advice about business. But one of the things they do is if they want their YouTube video to, say, get a lot of views, they place ads on Instagram. They're not afraid to place little 1-minute shorts. Hey guys, follow me, swipe up. Once you get to 10,000, you do something called swipe ups. So that swipe up takes you in stories. That swipe up will take you right to the website. In fact, when I was doing this today, I did 10 swipe ups to Fashion Mingle, swipe up. And so it's just very exciting once you start learning these different platforms and tools that you can utilize, because every entrepreneur gets so overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, this is going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars and I'm going to have to do all this. And it really is about not being afraid to take some risks. No guts, no glory.
Right.
Risk and utilize some of these loans that are out there right now.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and talk to that. I'm going to bring on the panel now, and then also Rose. We're gonna move her over to be a panelist so she can talk to you about the tea. Okay. Andrea, if you have some specific questions about the scarves, we want to get into that. But I'd like to have Shirin and Dawn talk about the loans, because obviously it would be fantastic if you could qualify for some of this, money that the government is putting out for small businesses, and so I'm going to let Shirin and Dawn talk about this. Dawn, tell us about your experience with getting the loans.
Okay, so I'm only talking to my experience. Everybody else has different levels of where they're at with their business. Some people have LLCs, some people have C Corps, depends. I kept my life very simple. I'm a solopreneur, creativepreneur, you know, entrepreneur, but I use a lot of virtual assistants. I don't have payroll. I don't have a huge staff. It's just literally me and my virtual assistants. So, and I don't even really have a business account. I don't have an LLC because I really just wanted to keep it very simple. You know, I'm a 1099. I've always been a 1099 girl. So, however, I learned about the PPP, talked to my banker, talked to a couple of people, and they were like, no, you do not have a business. You don't have a business account. You don't have payroll. So you're not eligible. However, somebody told me about the SBA.gov, Small Business Association.gov. And I said, well, there's no way I'm eligible. I don't have a business account. Well, they're like, just go on, go to the EIDL, click that button. And again, I can send screenshots. If anybody wants more information, I can even walk you through it through screenshots. And Melissa, I'll send that to you. But you go the third, so once you click on that, you go to the third one down and it says, you know, sole proprietor, you know, freelancer, self-employed. You click on that. I did it on I want to say on a Sunday morning. By Tuesday morning, again, you have to have good credit. So if you don't have good credit, I would suggest cleaning that up before you go on there, because, and there's ways to clean up your credit. Call your creditors and just say, I want to make good on my credit. I will, you know, pay you X amount a month. And you know, creditors are really good if you call them and you talk to them and you make good on, you make them feel confident that you're going to pay them, because you only, I think the SBA.gov loan ends September 30th, September 31st. So if you have bad credit, get on your calls and just kind of clean that up. However, I have good credit. I've always had good credit. So I filled out the form on a Sunday morning. By Tuesday morning, I had $150,000 in my account. They said, do you want the maximum? You know, it's 30 years at 3.75%. I'm like, sure, I don't even know if I'm going to be around it. I was like, yes. I filled it out. So that money is going to go towards Facebook. And now they want you to use it to build your business. So what's going on is that basically, you know, they understand this is a tough time for everybody. They understand that if we're not working and we're not producing and we're not, you know, we're the backbone of America, you know, entrepreneurs and business people, they want us to work. So from what I understand, and again, I'm not a, you know, I'm not in the small business administration, but I'm just assuming from what I'm reading and hearing that this is important for us to get out there and do our jobs and be creative, you know, and it's been a tough time for many, many people. So I took the loan because I need that loan to build my business. Now, am I going to go willy-nilly and just, you know, start spending it on, you know, I'm going to be very prudent and very strategic about how I'm going to build my business with that money. So, you know, I don't know if anybody has any questions about that.
Well, Shirin,
I'm here to help. Yeah.
Well, Shirin's worked with, she's an attorney, business law attorney, and she has had a lot of clients that have tried to get the different offerings that are out there during COVID. And you've definitely had some clients that have had difficulties because of the credit level. So tell us about that. How did that turn out? Like, tell us some good stories and some bad stories.
Well, I think at the very beginning, unfortunately, as everyone was new, the administration was new, the money was issued, but no one was really figuring out how to put it towards the real entrepreneurs, the ones needed it. And at the very beginning, there was limitations where you needed to have an entity, and it wasn't very clear about, could you do it as an independent, entrepreneur without a structure in place. And so that initially put a lot of people, to the side, and they missed out on that. And then obviously since then there's been more information, but one of the things that everyone's been getting a lot of caution on, and I've been working with the accountants on this issue, because the EIDL specifically was, it's always been around, and it's always been around for disaster assistance. And what we've normally thought about disaster assistance are earthquakes, hurricanes, those sorts of things. So of course, anyone that had their business affected by that could get assistance through that. And that's why initially they said, you had that $10,000 that you could get as a free grant, all of those things. And of course they came back with the influx of requests and switched that down to 1,000 per person. So as an independent, you'll just receive that $1,000, and then you had to get eligible for the additional loan amount, which is what you were talking about. And that of course did go back to your credit. And for a lot of these businesses, their credits have been affected by all the things that have happened since then, and not paying up on their credit cards and things like that. So it's sort of like it was a little vicious circle that was happening. And to your point, I think we need, the other caution that I have is, it's great that you're able to get the loan, but everyone is not really certain about how to use it. And there's a lot of restrictions in the fine print about using it to, buy property or set up this or do that. Right now the guidelines are sort of pretty, narrow towards using it to pay off credit, using it to pay your day-to-day expenses, using it to pay, whoever you're working with, and sort of using it to maintain what you had before and not really, invest in something new. Of course, inventory would be considered an expense that you could make, but, because there's no history behind this new EIDL, some people are even cautious about even taking the money, because if they do get audited, you want to make sure that you are in fact using it for the purposes that it says that you need to use it for. So definitely keeping clear records of that is incredibly important, especially in your case too, Dawn, where you are you don't have a separate business account. And so you have to make sure that all of that money is identified for use in your business and not personal. And, so down the line, you're able to prove that it was in fact a business loan for use for business purposes. But to your tale, since this, this program has sort of been evolving and allowing more entrepreneurs to come in, yes, we are starting to finally see entrepreneurs getting assistance with that. I'm actually working with a few consultants that are also helping clients get more money than they would have on their own. They know the system, they know the questions that are being asked by the SBA, they know how to, I guess, finagle, the criteria so that they can get the maximum amount. And, if anyone has any questions on that, and I would be happy to link them with that, because the PPP has closed, but as you mentioned, the EIDL is open and still funding through the end of September. So if anyone hasn't received any funding through the EIDL, definitely it's something that you need to look for, because as long as you use it for your business purpose, whether you have an entity or not, just maintaining and managing proper accounting of that money and tracking it is the key. Take advantage, because this is really the time that entrepreneurs can really effectively market their brands and take advantage of all these discounts and offerings that these marketers, Facebook, and everyone has to offer. So So I'm happy to hear that you got so much, and I hope everyone else hasn't given up and definitely looking to fix their credit to make sure that they can get the maximum amount.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you're saying, keep really excellent. I spoke to my accountant and they said keep excellent records on, and I am going to be opening an LLC now. Now that I, have this money, I plan on opening the LLC and then being meticulous about what I'm using the money for, and being very wise and very prudent, keeping all my receipts. Typically, anytime I have ever gotten a loan, it typically goes towards building my brand, whether it's hiring editors, hiring, consultants, business people, whatever. So yes, I would say absolutely keep meticulous records on what you're using the money for.
Okay. Well, I think that means I'm out of this because my CPA hates me. But I'm going to bring on Andrea. Andrea, can you hit your unmute? Because I know you've got some questions for Dawn.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Dawn, would I need to sell my product on QVC, or can I hire a spokesperson?
You can sell, they prefer the entrepreneur to sell it because you know your product more than anyone. However, if you don't feel comfortable on television, there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable on air. So they hire spokespeople. However, you seem lovely and wonderful and all that. You would be perfect.
And thank you. And my second question, what percentage does QVC take?
So the money comes from their purchase order. So they buy wholesale from you.
Oh, I see,
And
wholesale.
they sell retail. Yeah, they don't take a percentage.
Okay.
And again, there's all different ways that you can, when you talk to your vendor rep and how but typically the model is they buy wholesale.
Okay, cool.
Well, that's good.
Okay, and I'm gonna, Rose has some questions. Rose, click your unmute button.
Hi guys, how are you today?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on. So my question was still having to do with QVC because I have quite a bit of inventory in my warehouse. We have a fulfillment center where all the orders go, and then of course they get filled through the fulfillment center. I've always thought about QVC, but my question, I guess I'll get some additional information maybe offline regarding how much of a would be their first order. So I see whether or not, I just kind of wanted to get something in my head to see, what type of quantity they were looking for in terms of for the initial order.
Well, can you tell me how much you have right now? What do you have in your inventory?
I have pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets of tea.
Do? So,
Yes.
so just give me
I have like a half a container left.
okay. Again, it would be because you're a new brand and you're just starting and you're just trying to get out there, they would probably take a small, what they would do typically is test you. They would test how well your brand does. So they would probably, I would guess, take a smaller purchase order, see how well it does. If it does well, then they'll immediately take a larger order. So that's what I've been on with brands that were brand new, sold out, blew out like the first 5 minutes on the show. And then and it was a very small order. So I'm sure you've seen this with QVC. Well, we're sold out, sorry, you missed that one, whatever. But what happens is then they want you back on pretty quickly. They're in business, so they want to make, so they'll have you on and have another purchase order. Typically they just want you to be ready with another, and so I can't really answer how much. It really depends on the buyer, your vendor rep, what kind of deal you strike. There's a lot of variables, but typically, they don't want to put you out of business. So they will take a smaller order because you're new, and see how it does.
Because it takes about 72 days for us to for us to get a new shipment.
Okay. That's not that bad.
Okay.
Under 3 months would be the typical, time that they would want a second order. If you can get
great.
it under
Yeah.
3 months.
Yeah, we're at 72 days, so that'll be great. Thank you so much for your time.
We've also got a question from Christy Hutchins. She wants to know how QVC or HSN treats brands that are selling on the direct-to-consumer site. Do they have an exclusive deal? Like, do they have to have an exclusive deal, or does it have to be some kind of special opportunity to be on the e-com site?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? If they want to just be on the website?
Yeah. Can they do that, or do they have to also be on the TV portion?
No, they can be on the website. Sometimes that they'll take, for example, the teas with Rose. They'll put it on the website first, see how it does on the website, and then get her on TV. So I've had shoe brands that started that way. They said, look, we don't know how you're going to do on air, so we want to see how this works on our website. And then once it did well on the website, so they moved it onto that was for HSN. So then they moved it on to, on air. So yeah, you could start with the website. Absolutely.
Okay. And do they require any exclusivity? Like, can you also be selling on your own website at the same time?
No, yeah, they want you to be selling on your own website.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they want you selling on your own website because you're promoting and pushing it out there. No, they definitely, understand that you have to sell also on. Now there have been beauty brands, and this is why I would caution anybody in the beauty space or even in the fashion space that have gone on and given exclusivities to QVC. Adrienne Denise, Dr. Adrienne Denise, I don't know if anybody's heard of her. She's been on QVC for many, 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 many years and has done extremely well and made her fortune, but she gave them an absolute exclusive where she couldn't go outside of QVC, and she really was kicking herself. She made a bad deal. So, she could have sold everywhere and, but anyway, but she was successful and she did well.
So if you have a vendor rep, should you also have your own attorney involved in these negotiations so that you don't make a big mistake like that?
Oh yeah. I would suggest working with an attorney as well and making sure that you're getting a good deal and that you're not signing your life away and you're not giving them these exclusivities. You can give them an exclusivity for a certain period of time. So I've seen a lot of those deals. Okay, if you want exclusivity, I'll give you 6 months. You don't sell to, they just don't want to see it on, and even though they merged with HSN, they don't want to see it on HSN and QVC and Shop NBC and, they don't want to see it on all these different platforms. Another thing I'd like to mention is that if you don't get into QVC America, there's QVC Russia, there's QVC Canada. I've had clients that just could not get into QVC America. They had such a difficult time because they were new or they didn't have enough inventory. So QVC Canada took them and they did well with QVC Canada. And so they said, look at the numbers we did in QVC Canada, which is a much smaller venue. And also Russia is also very small. I think there's Europe, Italy, they have them in London, Italy, Japan. They're smaller markets. So you can start that way as well and then move on to the big guys. So
that's really good to know. I had no idea you could go, there were shows in other countries, but that sounds like a really great way to get in in a little bit easier manner. Dee, you've got some experience with QVC as well. You want to pop in here?
Yes, I've worked with clients that have done QVC, and I did know that QVC and HSN did merge. But I do know from my experience with the clients that I've had, like Paula, which is Iman, and also Convi Jeans, which is Senya, New York. And I know that they have certain requirements, but one of the requirements that I know from the past, and I don't know if this has changed, that you have to create a lot of marketing collateral to do a pre-sale before you air. And so I'm not sure if that's changed, but I know that it was a lot of work doing that. And you have to pre-sell a certain amount, and then they go online, and then they, you know, obviously sell online. So I'm not sure if those terms have changed. Also, I know the buyers in New Jersey, and you know, they do look for, I mean, I know beauty is a little more difficult now just because of all the changes that are going on in the industry. But I do know that, you know, you do have to have a lot of certain things in place, like your PR, marketing, a whole bunch of other stuff, because they do want to make sure that your brand is going to sell. And they're very honest with you. They'll tell you whether they like you or not, or whether they like your brand or not. They don't waste your time. So I just wanted to know, is that still the case where you have to do a lot of pre-sale before you air? Even if you do air, you have to kind of hustle your brand.
Yes, absolutely. I
Okay.
would totally agree with that. However, you know, things have been changing. You know, they have, I mean, I've worked with so many different brands and so many different deals have been made. You know, like I was saying before, if you're an established brand, say you're an Ann Taylor or, you know, an Isaac Mizrahi, you've already established. They know that you've been out there. You're a brand name. It's a lot easier. If you're new, you know, and again, they are in business to sell. They do want to see what you've done. They want to see, you know, what is your marketing strategy? And like you said, they're totally honest with you. But I just don't want to discourage people from at least attempting and trying that route, because I have seen all kinds of situations, and people that have been brand new where they've just tested them on the website. For example, Familari was a brand new, Familari was very famous in the 70s, and a friend of mine decided to, you know, bring it back into the market. And, you know, they didn't really know Familari. They wanted to see a lot of her marketing strategy. And she said, look, just put me on your website and I will get it out there. I'll get it, you know, I'll get the shoes to models. I'll get it to, you know, I'll place ads on Instagram. I'll place, you know, ads on Facebook. And they took her. They put it on the website. It did well. And she got on air. So there's so many different ways to do this. So I would just encourage people to at least try, even if you're new.
Okay.
But
you definitely got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to have a great website. You got to have a great social media. You need to be investing in Facebook ads to raise your visibility, get sales, get traction. So, you know, don't do it too soon. Make sure you're ready.
And get into some of the magazines. Try to
PR.
Yeah. Right, Dee?
Cards, things like that. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, you know, so Dawn, tell us, so you do work with clients. So tell us what your ideal client is.
As far as a brand?
Yeah. Like, who do you like to work with? And like, what's your favorite type of companies to work with?
Well, I work with a lot of beauty brands. So I've worked with everyone from the Sanctuary Spa, which is a very famous spa in London. And they decided to bring some products, and they created all these amazing products. So I've worked with them for many years on QVC. I worked with the personal microdermabrasion device. I've worked with mostly beauty. And that's another thing with QVC. I've been in the beauty industry for so long, and the fashion industry, but my on-air expertise has always been beauty. And once you're on with beauty, they really don't switch you to fashion to beauty. You know, they like to kind of, they see you as a beauty expert, so they keep you on as a beauty expert. I would have to say I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed all the brands I've worked with. I worked with Finishing Touch, yes. That was really fun. We would go on and sell out within 5 minutes. It was just a really fun brand, and people loved, we had a lot of fun with it. I love working with some of the hosts on QVC. Some of them are just brilliant at describing how they go on every half hour or 10 minutes and describe a new product and do it so brilliantly, and it's just amazing. I would just say I've really had great experience with all the brands. I don't really have a favorite. I do like the brands that are very prudent in their approach to marketing. They're usually brilliant in their strategy, how they either have a niche or they really understand how to pre-market the product before going on air. So I would say my favorite brand would probably be Sanctuary Spa, because they were really good at targeting the right magazines, working with bloggers, working with Instagram influencers. They were brilliant in their strategy. So I would say Sanctuary Spa was probably my favorite client.
Very, very cool. Well, it sounds like a great place.
Yeah.
I need a Sanctuary Spa experience right now.
If you're ever in London, anybody, go to the Sanctuary Spa. It's
Dawn sent you.
Dawn sent you, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're at our hour-long period, and Dawn, just thank you so much. You've been a wealth of information. I'm just so happy that you took the time to come and tell us all this important information about how to get on. Before we go, I just want to get one more person in. Catherine had a question or comment.
Yeah, Don, hi. I really enjoyed listening to everything you were talking about. I did a line of clothing called Shape Shopping with QVC, and it was one of those very difficult things. It taught me a lot, but I had a manufacturer, so I didn't have to manufacture it. But I realized that my sustainable goal was a different than QVC, and they said they don't do concept. They only do product. If they had a concept like mine, it was difficult to and I learned a lot about it, and I think I probably should talk a little bit about when you fail on QVC.
Yeah.
So I might just maybe everyone has a success story. I had a failed story, and I learned a lot from it. So it's probably another like 10-minute explanation, but it taught me a lot about what I'm doing now and how to do it, and that wasn't the right fit for me. But it's you have to do well enough to have them ask you back. Put it that way.
Yeah, and just so to give people, because I want to give people hope, but I also want to be very realistic. It's not like Kat's saying, just a shoe in and you get in, you see the buyer, they take an order. It's a process. It's difficult. Some people have lost money going the QVC route because they just weren't ready. They just weren't ready. It's a big fish. It's a big thing, and they don't mess around. They're it's dollar per minute, DPM. And when you're on that thing, you're watching, the right. Ticker tape or whatever, and you just see the DPM, and you realize, wow, it's very serious. And they're really, so I don't want to discourage people, but I also want to be realistic.
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dale's got a quick question about YouTube.
Okay.
Hi, Dawn. I know that you have been building your YouTube for a while now and have been very successable, and you made several mentions to brands getting their name out there.
I made
and
it work
with
in the end,
and from a lot of brands,
I did a back.
And a lot of the brands that I speak to, they are always concerned, like you said, about how much it's going to cost, and the best influencers are very expensive. Do you have any tips for brands, like how to reach out to the influencers and get them to promote their products either on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever social media you think would be the best? And like, what are kind of average reasonable rates to get the product really out there?
Okay. Do I have time to answer?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I would suggest, if you have a favorite YouTube influencer that you watch, there's something called the About page on the YouTube. When you look at YouTube, it says like, you know, stories about whatever. Click on About. It will typically give you their email address. Sometimes their phone number, but typically their email address. I have my email address on my business email address. Write to them and just say, you know, I have this product. I get emails all day long from people. I have this product. I'm new, but I'd really love for you to give me a shout out. Or there's brands that say, here's my budget. You know, would you do an exclusive video for me? I work with a lot of different brands now. So some I do paid sponsorship. Some I do for free just because I really like their product and I believe in what they're trying to do. It's usually a woman who's just trying, you know, I'm very generous when it comes to women. So I'll give them a shout out. Or you know, I will typically, so there's so many different ways to do this. Again, you could just contact them. Don't be afraid. Just email them and just, if you're a brand, and say, I would love to work with you. Is there a way we can collaborate together? And, you know, is there a fee, or, you know, do you have a manager, or, you know, some of these, if you're going for the big YouTubers that are in the millions and have millions of subscribers, you're talking some money and you're probably going to have to deal with their manager. But if you're talking about a small, you know, they have under, say, 50,000, typically, I mean, PMD, the personal microdermabrasion device, they were famous. They got famous just by sending every YouTuber that, you know, spoke about beauty a product. They just sent it and they just like, take this product, give me a shout out. And they became known that they said that was our business strategy, just getting it to you, because YouTube is evergreen. Instagram, it's like it moves, it's fast, you know, all these platforms are so different. And we, you know, again, like this, I could talk 20 minutes about the different platforms, but YouTube is evergreen. Once it's up forever. So, you know, people could, I have a YouTube video, a makeup tutorial I did 2 years ago. I'm still getting 100,000 views a week on it. Mm. So I love YouTube. It's been a great platform for me.
Yeah,
I hope that's answered your question, Dale. I mean,
yes, it did. Thank you so much for your advice.
Yeah, everybody charges differently, so you'd have to reach out to them.
Yep. Yeah, and don't be shy. If you don't ask, you won't get anything. That's life.
I always say, just try. You know, we can listen to people, you know, when they say, oh, I don't think you can do, you know, when we hear, you know, some of our accountants or business people telling us, but sometimes you just have to knock down that door. Yeah. I always say, if I knock and they're not answering, I'll kick it down. I mean, I'm one of those people that just goes for it. I don't care. Maybe I'll embarrass myself, whatever, but you have to try, you know, how do you know until you try?
That's amazing. Well, it's such great advice. Dawn's offered to give me a list of the reps that she recommends. So if you do want to learn more about getting on QVC and want to talk to a rep, email me, melissa@fashionmingle.net. Also, definitely reach out. You know, if you want to work with influencers, we've got a database of over 1,000 influencers, so we can help you find the right influencers to work for or work with. And also, of course, website, Facebook, things like that. We can help you with that as well. So thank you so much, Dawn, for your time today, and everybody have a great weekend.